Welcome to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where each week, twice a week, on Mondays and Wednesdays, New York time, we discuss a section of the Bhagavatam and consider lessons that we can apply in life. Today we will be continuing with the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Specifically, we are looking at chapter 74, and this concerns the activities of Yudhisthira Maharaj as he performs the Raja Suya Yagya. So this has been a build-up. We've been looking at Yudhisthira Maharaj's great sacrifice that he wishes to perform. We've been analyzing this this has been appearing in different pastimes, and now is coming to fruition with the description of Yudhisthira Maharaj's performance of this great sacrifice. So before I begin, let me chant some prayers. We have some invocatory prayers that I can chant as people are arriving, but in the meantime, welcome Kirtina and Diana and one more of him and Bhagavatam. Canto 1, chapter 2, verse 2. Sutta uvacha yampravajantam anupetam apeta krityam vaipayano viraha kattara ajuhava putreti tammayataya taravo binedus tam sarva bhuta hridayam muninam anantosmi. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage Sukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, feeling separation from him, cried out, 'O my son!' Indeed, only the trees, which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation, echoed in response to the bereaved father." Text 3. Yasvanubhavam akila shruti sharamekam adhyatmadipam atitir satam tamundam samsarinam karunayah purana guhyam tam vyasa sonim upayami gurum muninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Sukadeva, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyas, who, out of great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Text 4. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Let's chant a couple more verses. Text 17. Shridvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto yamadrani vidunoti suhrit satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. One more. Text 18 from the second chapter of the first canto. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Well, that is the perfect place to begin our discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Once again, we are discussing the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are discussing specifically chapter 74. Let me acknowledge those of you who are joining us here on Facebook. We have Kirtidas sending gratitude, joining us from Norway. Shama Manjari joining us from South Africa. Shama Manjari says, Hare Krishna Sri Prahlada Prabhuji and all assembled devotees. Welcome, Shama Manjari. Viren is with us. Viren says, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Great to have you back with us, Viren. And then Monica Sharma is also here, joining us from Sydney, Australia. Monica says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Welcome, Monica. Thank you for joining. So grateful to have you here with us. Let's see on Insta if we have any comments. Lalita Sundari is with us. Sterling Diana is here. Dennis Simonov has joined, and others as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. Today, our topic is harmony and hubris, Yudhisthira's Rajasuya Yajna, and the fall of Shishupal. I spent a lot of time, many years, traveling with Aniruddha Maharaj, organizing festivals, grand festivals, to share bhakti, to share Krishna consciousness with people far and wide. Aniruddha Maharaj continues to organize these festivals. We've just finished a 3-week festival in Rishikesh, which was attended each day by hundreds of yogis from all across the earth. A wonderful, wonderful festival. Actually, everyone was just overwhelmed. The preachers, the devotees, as well as the guests, we were all overwhelmed by how wonderful that festival was. Some of our festivals have come under attack. When we were doing a Harinam in Sarajevo many years ago to promote a festival that we were celebrating, we came under attack. Devotees got injured. Another of our festivals in Poland was once attacked. People came with baseball bats and attacked the participants. So these things happen. How to react under such circumstances? I've had a lot of time to reflect on that question. As you do, once you encounter a situation like that, where you come under attack, you have time to reflect deeply. How should we have responded in that situation? Well, let me say this. Devotees organizing festivals for the glory of God is not you, and that such a festival would come under attack is also not you. Whether it's physical or attack, or whether it's heckling or harassment, I'm sure everyone would have experienced this to one level and one degree or another. So we have a tale like this in the Bhagavatam as well, and that's what we're discussing today. Chapter 74 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Harmony and Hubris, Yudhisthira's Rajasuya Yajna, and Shishupal's demise or fall is how we've titled this class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We will discuss this chapter under 3 headings. 1, preparations for the sacrifice. 2, Shishupal's criticism. 3, Shishupal's demise. So our first section, preparations for the sacrifice, based on verses 1 to 17 of this chapter 74 of the 10th canto. So if you remember our previous class, we had Krishna, Bhim, and Arjuna. They went and challenged and defeated Jarasandha. And with the defeat of Jarasandha and the release of all the kings that he was holding captive, then Yudhisthira's sovereignty of the earth was undisputed. And so the Rajasuya Yagya could proceed. Excuse me. And so Yudhisthira Maharaj, he waited for the appropriate time to commence the sacrifice. And once that time came, with Krishna's approval, with his consent, then Yudhisthira selected the most experienced priests to conduct this ceremony. The Brahmanas who were in attendance of the ceremony included Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, Bharadvaj, Gotama, and Vashishta. These are the all-time greats of Vedic law, of Vedic history. Among the kings, the Kshatriyas who were invited, invitations were sent to Drona and Bhishma, Kripa, Dhritarashtra, as well as all of his sons, headed by Duryodhana. There was the astute Vidura, the uncle of the Pandavas, and many, many other Kshatriyas. But not only was it Brahmanas and Kshatriyas who were invited, also Vaishyas and Sudras were extended invitations. They were all keen to observe this great sacrifice. Numerous kings attended with their vast retinues and armies as well, their soldiers. And then to prepare for the sacrifice, the ground had to be properly sanctified, and so it was prepared with a golden plow. And Yudhisthira, he oversaw this plowing of the field under the guidance of highly qualified Brahmanas. Sacrificial paraphernalia or implements was assembled, very opulent paraphernalia crafted from gold, and it reminded people, these different preparations reminded the people of the Rajasuya Yagya executed long before by Varuna, the god of the oceans. Not only were earthly beings present for the sacrifice, but deities like Indra and Brahma and Shiva, as well as other celestial beings such as the Siddhas and Gandharvas and Vidyadharas, they were all invited to attend this sacrifice. Sukadeva Goswami tells us that the grandeur of the sacrifice did not surprise the attendees. He said because it was befitting the opulence of a devotee of Krishna. So we can pause here and just reflect briefly. We can reflect on excellence as a reflection of devotion. The grandeur of this sacrifice is, yes, as Sukadeva Goswami says, expected and appropriate for a devotee. And it teaches us, it illustrates for us that our endeavors, especially those that honor Krishna and are dedicated in service to Krishna, which should be all of our activities, whatever we eat, whatever we do, The work we perform, Krishna says, do it as an offering. And so it should be pursued with excellence. Krishna indicates to us in the Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter how he is associated with excellence. He says, among mountains, I am the mighty Himalayas. Immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Among great bodies of water, I am the ocean. Among, what else do you remember? Among bowmen, I am Arjuna. Among rulers, I am Ram. Among aquatics, I am the shark. So why is he telling us all of this? He wants us to understand how he endows all things with his potency. But there's also an indication here of standards of excellence. What is the best? What is the greatest? Of course, everything is associated with Krishna. But when we encounter excellence, when we engage with excellence, it also reflects the glory of God. And so the Vaishnava and us aspiring Vaishnavas, we must pursue excellence in all that we do. This is not about ostentation, but it's about a sincere expression of devotion and values in all of our commitments, whether spiritual or personal or professional, which should be offered as well to be made spiritual. Then we pursue that with a dedication to excellence as our offering, reflecting the depth of our conviction and the respect we hold for these endeavors as offerings of devotion to the Lord. And if we remember Yudhisthira's intention for the sacrifice, it was for people to see the glory of Krishna's devotees and of devotional service. And it is indeed reflected in the excellence of the arrangements in the sacrifice itself. Shall we move to the next section? Yes, we should. So our next section is titled Shishupal's Criticism, verses 18 to 37. As the sacrifice unfolded, there was an extraction of somaras as part of the performance of the sacrifice. And then the next ritual was titled First Worship. First worship had to be performed. And in order to execute this ritual of first worship, then the assembly had to choose who should be honored first in the assembly. And so Sahadev, one of the brothers of Yudhisthira Maharaj, he nominated Krishna. He said, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is the most exalted person. It is he who comprises the deities worshipped in Vedic sacrifice. Not only that, Sahadev said, Krishna is the supersoul within the heart of all living beings. And it is he who arranges for everyone in the universe to engage in their particular duties or prescribed work and activities. Not only that, Sahadev said, he says, but it is Krishna alone who imbues with each person the results of their pious activities. So the benefits we receive from sacrifice are given by Krishna. He also made the argument that by worshipping and honoring Krishna, we honor all living beings, because Krishna is the root of the tree. And so he said, based on these arguments, we must worship Krishna first. And the assembly, they praised this proposal, saying, Sadhu, sadhu. What does sadhu mean? Excellent, excellent. Sadhu is both an exclamation of excellence, but then those who are excellent, they are also called sadhu. excellence. So the pursuit of excellence as an offering of devotion, also reflected here in the exclamation of the assembly as a response to Sahadev's nominating Krishna for first worship. Yudhisthira Maharaj, he took this response from the assembly as an affirmation, and he began worshipping Krishna, seating him on a high throne and washing his feet, and then sprinkling the water on his own head, as well as the heads of his family members and of his ministers. He offered Krishna fine yellow silken garments and jewels, and as he made these offerings, his eyes were filled with tears of devotion. And the assembly, they celebrated this worship by shouting, Jai, Jai, oh glory, oh victory. And as they shouted Jai, there was a shower of flowers from the heavens. Not everyone was happy, however. One character in particular, by name of Shishupal, was outraged. Now, if you remember Shishupal, we have discussed this character earlier on in our study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically in relation to the incident of Rukmini's wedding. If you remember, Rukmini's brother wanted to marry his sister Rukmini to his friend named Shishupal. Shishupal, a demoniac character who hated Krishna, who viewed Krishna as an enemy. And so now that he sees Krishna is being honored in the great Rajasuya Yajna, Shishupal is incensed. He's enraged. And so he voices his objection. He said, how is it that such exalted personalities are present here, Vyas and Vashishta and so many other great kings, and yet they have been overlooked in this assembly because of the decision to listen to a child. Who is the child that he's referring to? Sahadev. For him, Sahadev is a child. They're the youngest of the Pandava, Sahadev, Nakula and Sahadev. They're twins. They're the youngest of the Pandava brothers. And so Shishupal regards him as a mere child. He said further, he said, how is it that this cowherd boy, the disgrace of his family, deserves your worship any more than a crow deserves to eat the sacred Pudodasha rice cake? So some special rice cake used in sacrificial ceremonies. And he says, Krishna deserves this honor as much as a crow deserves the rice cake offered in these sacred ceremonies. He has very little regard for Krishna. He doesn't even consider him as a king. He considers him as a cowherd, a Vaishya, and the disgrace of his family. He's angry that Krishna killed Kamsa. So he considers Krishna a disgrace. How is it that this person who follows no religious principles, no social or spiritual orders or family ethics, who has been excluded from religious duties, who behaves whimsically, who has no good qualities, deserves to be worshipped? What's he referring to here? Well, Krishna was born a Kshatriya, but raised a cowherd. And so he says, we really don't know who this character is. We really don't know his Brahma. Is he a Kshatriya? Is he a Vaishya? What is he? Krishna. And then he says he's not even a proper grihasta or a brahmachari or a sannyasi. We just don't know what he is. The acharyas, they analyze these criticisms and say, well, yeah, he's correct. Shishupal, even unconsciously, he glorifies Krishna by saying that Krishna transcends Varna and ashrama dharma. He's beyond such considerations. Someone who's beyond Varna and ashrama dharma is generally a paramahansa, topmost personality, transcends such limiting designations. Krishna, he appears among the Brahmanas as Vamanadeva and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He appears among Kshatriyas. He appears among the animals. Yeah, he transcends. He's not limited by these Varnas and ashrams. But in Shishupal's mind, this is a great defect. He says, Yayati cursed the dynasty of the Yarus. And ever since they have been ostracized by honest men, how then does Krishna deserve to be worshipped? So he's contradicting himself here. Earlier on, he said Krishna's not a Kshatriya, but a cowherd. Now he's calling him a Yadu, which means he is a Kshatriya. Then he said, these Yadus have abandoned the holy lands inhabited by saintly sages and instead taken shelter of a fortress in the sea, a place where no Brahminical principles are observed. They're just like thieves. They harass their subjects. So now he's criticizing Krishna for shifting the Yadu capital from Mathura to Dvaraka. If you remember, Jarasandha was repeatedly attacking Mathura. And so Krishna, he just shifted he had Dvarka city erected within the sea off the shore of the Indian subcontinent. And he shifted the population of Mathura to Dvarka. And in Shishupal's mind, this is another cause for criticism. He's abandoned the Holy Land. Mathura is a holy land. Bharatavarsha itself is a holy land. And instead taken shelter in the sea, a place where no Brahminical principles are observed. You can see he is very, very envious. So throughout this tirade from Shishupal, Krishna maintains his silence. He remains composed in the face of these provocations of Shishupal. We can pause here and reflect. We can see here that Shishupal is unable to see the Supreme Lord seated before him. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of all auspiciousness, the source of all that is good and pure. His very name makes things that are impure, pure. His very presence turns any place from its regular status into a place of pilgrimage. And yet, Shishupal just sees faults. He's not able to see past his bias and recognize Krishna's virtue. And this shows us how envy and greed will cloud our judgment. That will cloud our ability to see the good in others. That will prevent us from appreciating other people's virtues. That will prevent us from being able to surrender to the Supreme Lord. And so therefore we must be cautious of casting judgment. We must be cautious of envy and greed getting in the way of our ability to see other people's good qualities and instead only seeing faults. Let's see what happens to Shishupal. Verses 38 to 54 describe Shishupal's death. So this is our last section. Amidst Shishupal's blasphemy, Krishna chose silence, but the assembly, they were disturbed. Several members, they departed to preserve their piety. That is recommended in the Vedic literature, if you hear criticism, just leave. Or go and take bath in the Ganges. They don't. These people who chose to leave, they were seeking to preserve their piety, concerned that continuing to hear this criticism, they would fall from grace. They would be pure. They would be polluted by hearing this criticism. So that's one way that we can respond to criticism: just leave. The Pandavas, they were incensed by Shishupal's insolence, and they were ready to defend Krishna's honor with force. Bhim, he reached for his club. Arjuna reached for his bow and arrows. Yudhisthira for his sword. They were ready to defend Krishna's honor. But Krishna, he intervened and prevented the Pandavas from punishing Shishupal. And so he continued with his provocations. He also held his sword ready to defend himself as he criticized Krishna. Eventually, Krishna decided to eliminate Shishupal himself by invoking his celestial weapon, Sudarshana. Sudarshana represents transcendental knowledge, light, time. And so Shishupal is speaking ignorance, and that ignorance is removed. The darkness of ignorance is removed by the glowing light of Sudarshana. The ignorance is removed by the wisdom of Sudarshana, representing Krishna's prowess, transcendence. And so, as Sudarshan severed Shishupal's head, then his soul was seen to rise up into the sky and merge into Krishna's body. And so this was something wonderful. Everyone who was assembled, they had this extraordinary vision of Shishupal's soul rising up and entering Krishna's form, merging with Krishna's form. He achieved Sayuja Mukti, which is quite extraordinary. Once everyone beheld this, then the commotion that was there in the assembly as Shishupal was offending Krishna and people reaching for their weapons and thinking how best to, everything became silent. As spellbound, people beheld this extraordinary sight of Shishupal's achieving liberation. How did he achieve a liberation? By intensely thinking of Krishna, albeit in an adversarial manner, with hatred and envy, but it shows us how the power of thinking of Krishna. Even thinking of Krishna with envy arranged that when Shishupal died, he didn't have to come back in the cycle of samsara, but he achieved liberation. Yudhisthira, in the aftermath, he generously rewarded his guests and priests. He performed rites to rectify any ceremonial mistakes, symbolizing the successful completion of the sacrifice. And Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami tells us, he departed for Dvaraka, signifying the end of the sacrifice. And Yudhisthira, his glory was established within the world. His glory was established as he resembled a celestial ruler amidst the esteem of that assembly, marking a moment of unparalleled sovereign prestige. At the very conclusion of the sacrifice, the celestial and terrestrial beings all left, returning to their own abode, everyone talking and glorifying the splendor of that sacrifice, everyone talking about Krishna's glory, everyone feeling elated at this amazing, this significant, incredible event that they had witnessed and participated in. Everyone except Duryodhana. Duryodhana's heart was heavy with envy. And this signaled future conflict that would unfold. Sukadeva Goswami ends this chapter by saying, anyone who recites these activities of Krishna, including the killing of Shishupal and the performance of the Rajasuya Yagya, will be freed of all sins. So there's a blessing for all of us. We can reflect briefly on 2 points from what we've discussed here. One is Shishupal's attainment of mukti by merging into the Supreme Lord. It presents a complex theological point. While yogis and ascetics, they yearn for such liberation as the goal to be released from the cycle of birth and death, Vaishnavas view this form of liberation, this merging with the form of the Lord, impersonal merging, as spiritual suicide. Why? Because it lacks eternal personal service and a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is our ultimate aspiration. We want to be in an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. This is not possible for those who merge with the Lord in Sayuja Mukti. And so while this is the goal for yogis, for many yogis, for bhakti yogis, it is actually regarded as spiritual suicide and a type of hell. For bhaktas, then our aspiration is eternal service and companionship with Krishna. And we understand that this far surpasses the notion of liberation through merging or Sayuja Mukti. Another important point here is what we hear. We have to be careful to guard what we hear. There is spiritual danger in listening to criticism of Krishna and of his devotees. This isn't just about this isn't a passive thing. It's not that we just hear passively and it won't have any effect. It does. When we hear, when we listen to criticism, we are implicated. And there is a diminishing of our spiritual credits, of our even of our piety as well. And so this teaches us the significance of the importance of proper hearing. That is, hearing about Krishna from devotees. Teaches us the significance of satsang, or holy association, which is uplifting and spiritually nourishing. It reminds us to be discerning about the conversations in which we engage, or the narratives that we expose ourselves to. It reminds us of the importance of our spiritual integrity and how that is influenced by the vibrations that we absorb. And this applies not just in our spiritual activities, but it also applies in terms of the media that we interact with and consume. And so we need to be cautious of this. We need to guard our hearing. Let us hear positive spiritual vibrations. Let us hear the glorification of Krishna by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing the holy name. Let us hear the glorification of devotees and be cautious to avoid hearing criticism of Vaishnavas and other mundane, the glorification of mundane activities or personalities. So let's conclude then with a prayer. Beloved Krishna, as the golden plowshares turn the earth in preparation for Yudhishthira's Rajasuya sacrifice, so may our hearts be prepared with seeds of devotion that sprout and grow, delivering fruits of pure love at your lotus feet. In the shadow of Yudhishthira's grand endeavor, we seek to mirror his excellence, not as a testament to our vanity, but as a sincere expression of our devotion unto you. Let excellence in all facets of our lives be our offering, in celebration and exaltation of your divine glory. Let us not falter amidst life's trials like Shishupal, blinded by bias and ensnared in envy's grasp. Teach us, O divine teacher, to see beyond the veil of illusion, to discern the truth from the transient, and to gaze upon your form with eyes of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. Lead us from the desire for liberation as merging Sayuja to the bliss of eternal service at your lotus feet. May we, in the company of devotee saints and sages, find delight in satsang, guarding our hearts against the whispers of nescience, nurturing within us seeds of bhakti that blossom into an eternal creeper, adorning your divine abode with our love fruit offerings. So there we conclude. Let me acknowledge some of you who arrived as I started speaking. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or reflections or comments, then just put them in the chat. For example, one Moli of him says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for being here. We have Alicia joining us from Auckland, New Zealand. Alicia says, Kia ora Prabhu, I'm watching from Auckland Airport. Wow, Alicia, where are you headed? You're either going somewhere or arriving from somewhere. In either case, we're grateful that you could join us. And hopefully, we're wishing you safe travels. Nikunja says, Hare Krishna, Sri Prahlada Prabhu. Thank you, Nikunja, joining us from Auckland, New Zealand. Then we have a friend joining us from, I'm going to guess, from Cyprus, who says Hare Krishna. Can't quite see who it is because the name is written in Cyrillic text that I am not able to read. Adi Badri, joining us from Peru, says, Dandavats, Prabhu, Jai. Thank you for joining, Adi Badri. Great to have you with us. Let's put up that version. Yeah. There's a autocorrect version, which is Dada Ate. But here's the correct version. Dandavats. Thank you for being here, Adi Badri. Janaki joining us from Hungary says, Hare Krishna, Sri Prahlada Prabhu. Sorry for being late. Janaki, we're just happy you could be here. So grateful. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so yes, Adarsh says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. Adarsh, great to have you here. Adarsh was with us in Rishikesh, performing all kinds of important services. Bhagavatam says, Hare Krishna from Philly. Thank you for your association, Prabhu. I look forward to this glorious offering every week. Wonderful. So happy you could join Bhagavatam. And then it's Leelavan says, Hare Krishna Sri Prahlada Prabhu, thank you so much for this wonderful class. With best wishes, Leelavan Das. Thank you for being here, Leelavan. Grateful. Let's see. Ganges And Shishupal, not to brother, okay. Jai and Vijay, 3 curse for 4, Brahma Kumar. Yeah, can't quite follow that comment, but thank you for your engagement here. All right, so I guess we will conclude there. Thank you so much for being with us. Hari Raval joining us as well on Insta. Great to have you here. I wish you all well. May you deepen your taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of Vaishnavas. May you deepen your taste for chanting the holy names with attention. May you deepen your appreciation of the Lord's appearance as Sri Vigraha, through which our services can be rendered and accepted in a very personal way. May you deepen your appreciation for Sri Nam, the holy Nam, places where Krishna is served with devotion. May you deepen your love and appreciation for devotees. It is by the grace of Vaishnavas that we can cultivate these other practices of bhakti. And through this practice, may your heart soften such that you are moved to share the treasures of bhakti with others. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Vaha.